to this YouTube live system, guys. But today, I want to dig into something that's super important because I've been hearing a lot of agents say it this week. And I'm going to talk about your SEO and why you're truly not ranking. And I had to come on and do this live because I woke up today and I was thinking about a lot of my conversations that I had yesterday with some agents, and it's just too important. My laptop screen broke, actually, the display. I have two kids. My daughter broke the display, and I'm actually headed out to go to the tech store to get that fixed. But before I leave, I said, you know what? I got to talk about this. We got to address this. So go ahead and do me a favor, hit that subscribe button because we are digging in deep. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes going over this because I got my notes here and I just want to give it to you real straight up, real honest. That's why you're here, right? Guys, this is not about the SEO necessarily not working. It's that it failed you. And I'm sorry, but I've talked with agents that were with their platform for 10 years, 15 years, 2 years, and it's still not working. It takes Google a couple weeks to index the site. It can take a couple months to gain traction. So if you've been with a platform for over a year and you're still not seeing any results, then you know the foundational structure on the back end of your platform is broken. So I can confidently say, you guys, that it is your provider that you were with, unfortunately, that has failed you. And it's because I see this pattern over and over again. And it's really unfortunate for a lot of agents because they spend a lot of time fixing broken links, or pushing things off and just kind of settling for, oh, well, I know it doesn't work, but I know I need something. So I'm just going to kind of keep this here. When a true function of a website is to actually give you a return, it's supposed to put you in front of your market, give you exposure, show your authority in your market, your expertise, and it's supposed to give you permanent ranking in your area so that you can actually compete when buyers are looking for these properties. Or if you're working with sellers, right? They want to make sure that they're working with an agent who can get their property sold. That is what it comes down to. Do you have the SEO on there? Do you have the AEO, which is answer engine optimization, which basically falls under the same umbrella as search engine optimization? This is often where you see the AI respond, like predictive, and with the answers, right? How much is my home worth? Things like that. So I want to dig into that today because this is really important and you don't have to settle. But there's three major reasons why agents are not seeing any type of result. And the first one is you're using the wrong keywords. Okay, so you think about the pages that you have for the different communities that you're working in. Are the keywords things like just homes for sale? Or is it just saying the city? Or is it just saying Corona? Because if that's the case, well, you're basically not you're invisible essentially, right? Because you got to think about this: Zillow, Realtor, Homes, all of these larger portals, they dominate for those areas, especially Zillow. They dominate for those terms, right? Homes for sale, and then your city. So if you have that, remember, you don't want to compete with everybody. You just want to put yourself in front of your market, get that exposure, get high intent clients that are looking in your area for those type of platforms. Zillow is very broad, right? They want to appeal to everybody and you can't compete with them. You shouldn't even want to. So you have your own uniqueness, your own personal brand, your own expertise, and that's what clients want to see. So that's what you really want to highlight. Not to mention, it leads to my second point. You're getting traffic that's not really relevant to what you do. So if you are getting some type of traffic through the platform, you might be seeing a lot of bots. You might be seeing a lot of spam. This happens when you have a platform that has plugins. So if you're using like a WordPress platform and then that's layering on different types of plugins, they're not necessarily very protected, especially if it's not built correctly. Like, I like WordPress, but real estate websites have a very specific structure. And a lot of WordPress sites are built incorrectly, especially if the agent is building them out. I've talked with other agents who spent like 5-8 grand with a developer who still built the platform out incorrectly. So you want to make sure that the traffic that's coming to your website is relevant to what you do, right? You don't necessarily want people that are from another country, or if they are from another country, then you want them coming with purpose, right? Maybe they're relocating, but you don't want somebody from like bum F nowhere, just trying to, with the letters A, B, C, whatever, coming in as your on your lead contact. That's spam, right? You don't really want to work with that. You want people that are your ideal clients coming to the site. So the site should produce traffic that can convert, okay? The third thing that's happening is there's no true ownership, meaning you don't have control over your brand. You don't have control or flexibility in your back office. You can't really make any changes. You don't have control over the leads. Maybe you're using a broker provided platform, and nothing against the brokers. I just want to say this, okay? This is about just strategy, knowledge, and what you should do moving forward. If you're using a broker provided platform, keep it, right? Why not? It's free. And they sometimes offer some really good tools depending on the brokerage that you're with. But just know that when you're using that type of website, or only if you're only going to use that type of website, then you are essentially just building that broker's brand. You will rely on leads that come through the brokerage. Now, that might be your strategy. I've talked with some agents who are like, that's what I'm good with that. And that's fine. But if you really want to grow, you really want to scale, you're building your own company, then you want to have your own, you want to have more control. So that's why a lot of agents will tend to get their own website. Just make sure you're getting a website that has a fully integrated IDX and staying away from those plugins. When you build out your own platform, right, you're not having to rely on Zillow. You're not having to rely on social media, Facebook algorithms, although we want to use those, right? You want to use social media, but you don't want it to be your only source, okay? Especially without a strong foundational website. So if you are going to use social media, just be advised, know the algorithms change. I don't know if you've ever been locked out of your site. I have before. Not very fun. But this is a thing. Like, it happens. And then of course, building your social media exposure takes a while. It can take, I've worked with a lot of agents who actually get good leads and consistent leads through their platform, but it took them at least a year. Took them at least a year to build that trust, that brand authority, and they were very consistent. Like, they were posting consistently every day, very clear on their branding. So make sure that you know that your foundation is really your website is really your foundation, because then also you're not having to lean so heavily on paid ads as well. If you're going to use paid ads, which you absolutely could, but you want to make sure that you're using them strategically. You have a targeted ad campaign, right? You don't just want to throw money at an ad campaign and kind of hope that it works, which we see some agents doing. Maybe AdWords, Adfully, maybe Sync. You're with a Sync platform. They have a 500 minimum fee for the paid ads. So if you are investing in the paid ads, but you don't have any exposure online in your market, well, then when the paid ad budget stops, so does your exposure, right? So make sure you're building that permanent visibility. Excuse me, because real SEO is not just a keyword, it's not just a meta tag, it's the content and the value of the content that you have there. Google wants to see, are you fresh? Are you relevant? Are you fresh? Meaning, are you pulling in your listings in real time? If there's like changes or updates to the listings in the MLS, let's say you're in the Bright MLS, right? Are you pulling in the listings from the Bright MLS? And is your page updating in real time with, any like price changes or photo changes or whatnot? Then your site will reflect that, right? Now, also, is it actually having content that wraps around the IDX, right? Do you actually talk about your neighborhood? Is the content answering questions that people are actively searching in Google? This is something that makes you stand out. This is how you compete. You need to have something called a hyperlocal saved search page. This hyperlocal saved search page lets Google know that you are the authority in your area, right? Remember, real estate websites have a very specific structure. Think of all the agents that are pulling from the Bright MLS. That's thousands and thousands of agents, okay? Thousands and thousands of agents have all the same data and information. Google's not going to know who's actually going to be the most relevant source. So you got to let it know, hey, no, it's me. I am the most relevant source in this area. So that is why you want to have a hyper local saved search page on your website. Very crucial. Sometimes called just a save search. But this is a neighborhood page, it's a community page, maybe subdivision, probate, whatever. It's about your specialty, what you specialize on, and it's published in a way that Google can see it. A lot of agents think they have this. Most of you don't. Okay. And the way that you'll know is if you search the listings that you have on your website. If your site is not popping up, that's a flag right there. That's the very first indication that you don't have it. Okay. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of platforms that give the illusion that they have it, but they don't. And you feel that a year, 2, 3 years later. But these hyper local save search pages are just full of specific, very specific content about your market. And it answers questions like the best neighborhoods near me, the best agents near me, how much is my home worth? Show me single family homes for sale that are 3 bedroom, 2 bath with land, or single family homes for sale in Corona with that waterfront properties. Very specific, because when buyers search, they search very specifically. They don't just put in homes for sale. They're looking for what's relevant to what they're looking for. So that's why you got to have that very specific information on your page. You want to show up as the answer. You can't just be like, I accept defeat and everybody goes to Zillow. Well, then you're going to have a really hard time scaling, or you're going to sacrifice a lot of your time because you have no exposure, you have no visibility. The people who are winning right now are visible in their market. So when Google is looking for any type of agent website to connect with a buyer that's looking, or a seller that's looking for an agent to work with, it's not going to pull your website if you have broken links, if you have outdated information, if it looks clunky, if you're pulling from multiple third party plugins. It's just not going to happen. Okay. If you're only pulling in the IDX listings and it doesn't even know you're there. So if you have just a static landing page that doesn't have any relevant information, people can't maneuver through it, then it lacks depth, it lacks consistency, and even real structure and local authority, which is exactly what it wants to see. It wants to see your expertise and your authority in that space. So it's not necessarily that every single agent's website looks bad. You can have a website that looks really beautiful, but a beautiful site only works if people can actually find you too, right? So if you're going to pay for a website, then you make sure that you're getting some type of return on it. And I've seen agents that are paying like five, six, seven, $800 or more for nothing. They're getting literally nothing back. And you could feel that frustration when you have the conversation with them. They're just so tired of it because they spent so much time in the setup. They spent so much money in the setup, sometimes five, six, $8,000 in the setup. I talked with a guy who spent $50,000 total just trying different platforms and the setup costs. So you can imagine that plus the monthly over the years, right? It's frustrating, but it is easily fixable. That's the good news. So make sure you're getting with the right platform. And if you need help with this, then click the links in the description below. There's a free guide that'll help you get started. Also, if you're ready to just get your site reviewed, then go ahead and book an appointment. Speak with one of our advisors and let them check out your site. Pull up your visibility in the market, because when your website is structured correctly, your content matches buyer intent, your local authority is built over time. You've got a true strategy and a true foundation that brings you a real return. All right, guys, that's it for today. I got to go get this laptop fixed. If you found this information helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. See you next time.